everybody. It's James DeBow, your host on Discovering Season 2. And we're back again. And we've got a new guest in the building today, Kevron Johnson. How you doing?
How you doing, James? You all right, yeah?
Yeah, good to have you here anyway. You know, we've been having a little conversation lately. It's to do with a lot of things that you've been involved in. You've been involved with drama. You went to university a while ago to do that.
Yeah. I went to school in Battersea down in London and that, and then came up here to do my drama and fine art.
Also, you're working on a documentary to do with the housing.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gone through my drama stuff and got into, there's a few issues that I was having. I don't know, a lot of people can relate with housing and that, and whether they have a few issues going along with it, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Damp or roof or whatever. And basically, I'm having a few issues myself. I'm not immune to it. I'm having a few issues with my housing, and I decided to make try and make a documentary to record.
Yeah,
try and make a documentary to record and state what's going on in my housing in my area and what they could do to make it better. Really. So I'm in the process of putting that together. It's almost finished. Just got to see my editor and get that.
Okay, let's start with the drama then. Where'd it begin? The timeline on when you first getting into drama? Did you
started off when I was about 14, 15 really, and it was at school, and a new drama teacher came to our school. She's seen a few potential people she wanted to bring into a drama group, and I kind of fell into that, and it kind of went from there really, and I went through the next couple of years going on various different courses, auditioning for a few different parts and whatnot. Not always getting them, but yeah, auditioning for stuff, and kind of just, it's a passion that I've just kind of continued, you know.
Have you done have you ever done like being in an extra or in any kind of?
I've auditioned a lot for a few parts, and I've been an extra in a few little bits, but nothing super major. Do you know what I mean? To be braggadocious about, but I have been an extra in one or two things, and I have seen a little piece.
You're also kind of a comic, aren't you? You know, you're into comedian.
I like to think I'm funny. That don't mean I'm funny.
Yeah.
But I like to think I'm a little joker. My mum always says it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but I thought you're quite a funny guy anyway.
Big up yourself, James, man. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? But I'm a little humorous, and I just try to put that into what I'm doing, really. So
saying that you want to be the next Lenny Henry of the UK.
Boy, I don't know about that. But you know what? Lenny Henry's doing well, and you have to big him up. He's 60 years old, and was one of the first big comedians coming out of this country, really. You know, from a black point of view, you know, he's always a reference point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you like him, don't like him, or whatnot, he's definitely somebody of relevance and is a big reference point. I personally appreciate him and respect him a hell of a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's put in his work, and at the time he did as well.
Yeah, 125%, and he's opened so much more doors for other comedians to come through. And you know how hard it is as a British comedian or any kind of comic. It's not like as much as in America where they can break the wall and, you know, you start finding out their big names and the Eddie Murphys and the Richard Pryor's of the world and Dave Chappelle's and that. I don't see that as much in England. I think that they have to work a hell of a lot harder to get to where they need to get to. So
that's true anyway. So with the housing, the documentary, how did it all begin? Is obviously, like you said, it was beginning from a lot of damage in the property.
Yeah, there's a few issues. There's a few issues going on with that property.
Yeah.
It started coming up to, you know, once I started seeing it, I just said, you know what, let me just start recording all of what's going on. So I've been putting all of that together, and I'm just in the process now of just finishing the ending of this documentary. We'll get that together and try and put that out there, and hopefully you get some good responses and see what goes on with this, because it's something that I need to show the housing that I'm living with as well, so that they can see the issues and problems, because they kind of see some things, but then at the same time they're like,
what's the name of the documentary going to be called?
We're still trying to get piece of name together with it, but it will be something involving the housing. So whether it's the housing doc or exposure of,
and it should be out quite soon.
I would imagine in the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll definitely have that up on YouTube or have that up on my Instagram or one of my socials.
Well, you might as well give your social media. You're on Instagram, TikTok, and
I've just freshly put them on today. Like I'm new to it. I'm a 40-year-old virgin of social media. Do you know what I mean? So, my where we at now? My TikTok's man like Kev 81.
Man like Kev 81.
Man like Kev 81, and also you'll find that on Instagram as well. Man like Kev 81, it's the same.
Man like Kev 81 Instagram. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So I'd say in the next, give me a week or two, but I will be uploading some videos, some content that'll be going on those sites.
Yeah, I look forward to that anyway.
Safe, man. I appreciate it, man. I'm trying.
And you also was talking about getting into being a sports presenter, starting your own channel, and
well, you know what it is. I'm definitely passionate about. I love boxing as a kid. You know what I mean? I'm passionate about it. I don't so much do it myself like so much, but I'm passionate about boxing and mixed martial arts and that. I like to watch a lot of that. So I'm kind of thinking possibly to make my own like a sports channel orientated around mixed martial arts and boxing, really.
Yeah.
And just giving my take on it, because there's quite a few people that do. There's a lot of people that are doing content creating, and a lot of people that are doing that channel.
Yeah.
But in the world of mixed martial arts, I don't think there's so much people that. I think a lot of people take themselves very, very seriously. Do you get what I mean? And I think sometimes you need to just kind of give a natural point of view of things.
Yeah.
And I feel like I might be like that armchair supporter. I could be like your neighbor or something. Kind of give that point of view. Do you get what I mean? So
not too serious. Have a bit of fun with it. You mean
just a little bit more natural. Just a little. You know, I'm not saying I'm going to be super comedic with it, but just a little bit more natural, as if you was sitting in the room with me. We were watching it together. Do you know what I mean? And we were just having a few beers and having a laugh. I want to kind of give that that vibe and not try and come too pompous. Do you get what I mean? But definitely. Hopefully, if I get a few more of my projects finished, then I'm kind of going to start pushing my focus to that. But let's get my projects first and then look at a channel.
So, obviously, you were born in London, of course,
Yeah, Southwest London.
How long have you been down in Liverpool for?
Too long.
Too long.
Too long now, I almost lost my accent. No.
Homesick?
No, you know what? I went back home. I got stuck in home for the corona, the beginning of corona. So I was down there for a couple of months. So I did get to catch up with everybody, family and friends and everything like that, and put on a bit of weight, some good cooking. My mum was hooking me up. I got to give her a big shouts out to my mum.
Good Jamaican food she cooks.
Hey, nothing but proper things, ackee and saltfish, dumpling, you know the rest. You know what I mean? But she was hooking it up. So shouts out to my mum for that.
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah, so no, that's good anyway. We're all brought up on that good food anyway. But your mum born Jamaica, isn't it? So
Both of my parents are born in Jamaica and that. So
good jerk chicken,
good macaroni and pie, rice and peas, ackee and saltfish,
everything,
all the above when it comes to Caribbean cuisine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was down there with that. So
yeah, well, even though you have Jamaican descent, well, that's where your parents are born, isn't it? You understand still the importance of African history, of course. Whether or not you say I'm a Jamaican, I'm a Trinidadian, I'm American, it's the origin you recognise and the roots of our cultures.
Oh no, 100%. Like you can see that. We all know that we all stem from Africa. We all come from Africa originally.
Yeah.
And although some of us might have ended up all around the world, the heritage and the motherland is there in it. So yes, I'm a Jamaican and I'm 100% proud to be Jamaican. But we also know that historically our heritage isn't just that. That wasn't the beginning. Do you get me?
Of course.
There was something else before that, and that was, my ancestors getting taken over in slave ships coming from Ghana Strip and coming from Nigeria and from West Africa, and that's where they got taken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there is another piece of history again that they tried to hide,
and it's the piece of history of the great civilizations we had. A lot of great things. It weren't just about slaves and chains he come out with all sorts, saying Africans were cannibals and that it was good for them to be put into slavery. These are all things that, these are all the negative stereotypes what we've had to deal with for all of our lives, really.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what they educate you with, is all the negativity in it, and they push the negativity to the forefront. And I say that's all that you're going to be learning. So you need to kind of open your eyes to the fact that there's so much more history that we don't know, that we need to try and find out about, because it's been hidden.
It's like even the ancient Egyptians, when you're in school and you mention about Egypt, they're depicting white-looking people or light-skinned people, anything but the true original black people that was there.
100%.
You just went to school, just like I went to school. I didn't see anything there that was to learn.
No, well, like going to school in South London, mate, it's typical Western education system that you're in it. So they're teaching you about Henry VIII, and they're teaching you about Hitler, and they're teaching you all of Western history. Do you get me?
Yeah.
But at that point, I'm not learning about, there's so much black man that was the first that made this, or the first that did this, or the first one that made the telephone. You're not learning about none of that. They're not teaching you about Moors or all of these things. You're just learning, when it comes to the black, then you're just learning slavery. Do you get what I mean? And I'm not saying that's not relevant. You do need to know about it. It is part of our history, but there's so much more that's part of our history that's just not getting taught. And it's not, the knowledge is not getting passed down to the next generation. Do you get me?
I think in London, though, you'd have a little bit more going on for celebrating black history. Do you notice any workshops where people can go and learn black history?
Well, you know what? Because I'm not like like in London, they've got a bigger community.
Yeah. Compared
to somewhere like Liverpool, do you know what I mean? So there are, like, I couldn't say I know exactly, like, go to this place today and you do this, but 100% there's a lot of community social groups that are in London that are letting people be aware of their history and of their culture, and just letting them have a better understanding of where they come from and who they are.
Yeah, of course. Because London's a lot more going. This is like Liverpool. I mean, there's a lot of history going back. Liverpool, we used to have a lot of speakers coming here. If it was entertainers, singers. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like it just went silent. I think that was like after going into the 90s, after the 90s or something. But
Margaret Thatcher had a problem with you lot, innit?
Well,
she don't like the North.
Well,
she cut that money, and that was it. Start making it happen from there.
Yeah, but it's about people can stop making things happen, but it's down to the individuals to recognise that we need to keep pushing this and don't lose our culture. This is more the important. We can always look at someone who wants to ruin it for us, which we get all the time, but we've got to keep it going. People lose motivation, and we've got to keep teaching the next generation, otherwise they'll just get lost.
Yeah, 100%, I agree.
And also you mentioned about the movies before, about Prince of Thieves.
Yeah, like I was just merely saying, like, when I, like, especially talking about growing up and going to school and getting an education and that. Yeah. When I was watching, just as you're a kid growing up watching films and stuff, I kind of noticed Prince of Thieves as just a highlight that up to that point, all the movies I'd ever seen had been like, maybe Amistad or something like that. So when they're doing the depiction of a black male, it's a slave. Do you get what I mean? Up to that point, it's slavery and all of this kind of negative. When I saw Prince of Thieves, although, it's just the Prince of Thieves, that's what it's about, Robin Hood and that, the black male representation, he was a Moor or Moorish,
Yeah.
Stand me corrected, but he was more Moorish, and this guy had education and had smarts, and he was a scientist, and he was he knew about the stars and all kinds of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Moors had a lot of knowledge. Do you get me? So they brought a lot of knowledge and wealth to the table. You get me? And that was the first time I'd seen
the movie.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, how comes this black guy's walking around with so much education and knowledge? And I thought he was a slave, but you come to find out he was more. That's the first time I seen it, and that was Morgan Freeman playing it.
Yeah. Well, I remember that movie a while ago. I enjoyed that movie. When you're younger, you kind of wonder, like, what's his role there? Because at one time you're thinking, well, we didn't come over to these countries until the transatlantic slave trade. That's what we got told. But then you dig deeper, and it's like there's a movie called with what's the guy called, Martin Lawrence, A Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie.
Funny,
I love
very
that
funny
movie because
very funny.
If you trace back who the Black Knight was, that was like the greatest warrior.
Okay,
he was the best. That's why they called him the Black Knight. In Rome, because you had a lot of Africans who fought in the Roman army. So you'll even see the pictures of them everywhere. They weren't brought over as slaves back then. They were brought over as like to serve, and these were the best fighters. So look the Carthaginians like Hannibal. You see him when he came over on his elephants when they're warring with Rome and stuff. So we've had like so much. People have always like used Africans, like in Japan. The best samurai they say he has to have black blood. The more black blood, the better the samurai. And you'll see depictions of what they call a Bantu in Japan.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and obviously there's different reasons how they got to these places. Some were brought out by the Arabs. when they were taking slaves into India, Arabia, China, Japan. I mean, we don't really talk about these too much. We don't hear too much about the transatlantic slave trade. But for many years, people have like used Africans to. They knew what kind of skills we had. You go to Mexico, you can see the depictions of the Olmec head, for example. This is the reason why Africans benefited everybody. You know, they taught them everything: mathematics, astrology. You know, give the Mayans their first calendar. Okay. The Olmecs brought the calendar in. So there's a lot of things, misconceptions, where you go to school, you're just going to get a real watered down version of who we are. You know, it's we got to dig deep. That's the way it is, isn't it? So say, for example, when did you, because you're aware that people like Renoka Rashidi used to watch some of these documentaries with me a while ago and that. So
Hidden Colors and that.
Hidden Colors,
But I learned so much about it. So that documentary just had me like in a world spin. I was like, whoa. Do you get me? Like I don't get me wrong. I mean, I knew a little bit about myself from before and that, but I wasn't like, those first two documentaries really kind of made you think, made you open your mind up to what was going on in the past, and then also kind of thinking about how's that affecting us now in society.
In modern day.
You get me? The effects of that now, how is that now relevant to modern day? Because it is. It 100% is.
Brilliant documentary, them two, Hidden Colors.
1 and 2. There's a third one, I ain't seen it yet.
There's about 5 of them, but
okay.
It's the first 2 that really stood out. Number 2, and definitely I had to relate to that in many ways.
Because it breaks it down and gives you the social, you know, it shows you socially, economically, how it's affecting and how it will go on to affect if you don't.
Yeah. And also he was, when he started showing you the African diaspora, so you're doing global African presence. And a lot of these places I could relate to because I'd been into these rainforest areas in Asia. That's right. I've been into the Pacific, to Fiji, Tonga, and all these places. So, and I've seen all these people myself, it was just like relating to it because we need to talk about more of these peoples all around the world. Most of them are going to be extinct soon.
Yeah, because it's the indigenous people you're talking about, right?
Indigenous people, wherever we go in the world, when I seen them in Australia, the Aborigines, and now you talk about Black history to them. I mean, they go through the same. Or some people say it could be worse. I don't like to compare because destruction. Whether you say the transatlantic slave trade, what the Black Asians have been through in India, called the Untouchables, a lot of them.
Okay.
Dravidians, Dalits, and these people. Then Southeast Asia, they've had to go through a lot of wars for thousands of years with the Mongols.
Right.
You know, so it's wherever we go in the world, like, we've done spectacular things, brought civilizations. I mean, a lot of these indigenous tribes in Asia are the ones that showed the Chinese how to sail boats and build boats. Okay. See, these things don't get talked.
No.
We only know these because we've had, like, few people. Even you get honesty in every race, so you might get an honest Chinese man's written a book a while ago admitting that these people taught them how to sail. You had some Greeks like Herodotus, or you have Homer. They told the truth about Africa.
Okay.
So there's only the few people who would be honest about it wherever you go in the world. Even some Mexicans, when I was there, they were saying about, because I was going to visit the Mayan Chichen Itza area and that. And some of them said, well, there's Black people that came over Jordan, the slave trade on ships. Then there was Black people a lot long before that who came on ships as free people.
Wow, okay.
So there's Mexicans who are aware of this. It's not down to every Mexican or every Asian person don't know. People do know. It's all in the history books. But it's just, you've got to find them books. If you don't go and look for these things, then how will you know they exist?
Yeah, a lot of the knowledge is hidden in it.
Yeah. So any names yourself that you used to listen to on we talk about Renoka Rashidi. You ever heard of Dr. Ben, Yosha Ben Yakinen, or Dr. John Hendrik Clark?
Dr. Ben, was he in the documentary as well?
Dr. Ben, he actually, I think he might have. No, he went in the documentary, but people will use his name to quote something because he was one of the Grandmaster scholars.
There was a few different philosophers and scholars that was in the documentaries. I couldn't say I've been following them, but I did kind of a lot of what they were saying resonated. I think there was a lady, she's a black lady, but she's more fair, slightly fair skinned. She kind of talks about how it affects the home and how it affects the family and how slavery and what goes on socially in the house between a man and a woman. She kind of takes it to that place. I just found her very inspiring and interesting because you're kind of learning the psyche of the male and female. Yeah,
what's the role?
Side, what's the role of a man? What's the role of a woman?
That's right. Yeah,
parents and that, it just kind of resonated with me what she was saying. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't remember her name, unfortunately, but she really was talking some knowledge.
Yeah, because I see myself with my own eyes when I travel places. I look how people live, how the relationship is, and you can just see everybody seems to have things in order. Especially the more you go into a rural place, village, secluded area, tribal people, you will, because these are practicing stuff what they've done for thousands of years anyway. You know, these are spiritual people. Spirituality goes to the beginning of time. You know, it's not like where, say, somebody talks about the Bible or something. No, it's the world's only 6,000 years old, and you know that's just not possible. Science don't tell you it's 6,000 years old. It tells you we go back to, and I'll even challenge science. I mean, the Big Bang Theory just happened, then that's it, 4-point-something billion years ago. You don't know how far we go back.
No, because everyone's trying to find the answer in it, so they're using different, whether it's science or whether it's belief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you have to choose. Sometimes you have to choose your side, and there's a lot of them. I listened to a guy called Jabari, excellent scholar, Jabari, and he's talking about with some of these scholars, the can be at odds at one another. Where you got practitioners, so they take part in the ceremonies and into the priesthood, and then you've got people who are strictly science.
Okay.
So sometimes they can conflict with one another. And it can be difficult because if we go by science, but then we look at, say, ancient Egypt, and they'll talk about creation stories, for example, but science doesn't deals with evolution, doesn't it? So I try to be balanced. So when I go meet a tribe, for example, they're going to tell me this history of what they believe and what they were told. Then I look at science. I try and do my best to meet in the middle, because oral traditions and science is completely two separate things. Okay. You can try to make them go, but it can be difficult. Because if you do anthropology, if you're an anthropologist, you can't get out of teaching people that humans evolved from apes.
Right, okay, yeah.
Especially if you're a qualified anthropologist, you're supposed to know better. So with a Runoko Rashidi, he's a qualified anthropologist. I'm just my own independent researcher. So I can kind of bounce into both. It's much more comfortable and it's more to go. Runoko Rashidi, because I asked him this question on the Zoom last time.
Yeah.
You probably heard it.
Yeah, I was watching.
It was a question from Raz Congo. He wanted to ask me, do you believe that humans could have evolved from whether there was a seed or basically, or do you believe the theory of evolution, Darwinism? So he basically said that humans, not saying humans come from apes, but humans and apes have a common ancestor. So whatever that common ancestor is, we're both supposed to be related to it.
Right, okay.
You know, I mean, it's a difficult one, because if you're trying to be spiritual and you're going to say humans came from apes, it can be difficult. It's not easy when you're doing this. I try and take in as much as I can, and I try and relate it. I will study science. I'll study the ancient traditions and see what I can come up with. Sometimes it can work. Sometimes it's like, wow, that's over there and that one's over there.
Yeah. And you kind of like what draw the best information from both sides and then kind of piece it together to
you'd have to
see where you are.
You'd have to, but if you're an anthropologist, you can't get out of the ape.
Right. Okay.
That's the way it is. But I'm not an anthropologist. I research independently, so I can kind of bounce through both. I don't believe we came from apes. That's just my opinion. You know, I don't see the point of the creator's creation. You can just make us as human beings from the start.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's my own opinion.
So what is it, anthropologist? What do you say? What's the word?
Anthropologist.
Would you say, so if they're anthropologists and they believe that we we evolved from apes into human being.
Well,
I'm taking it they're not religious then.
no.
Well,
They can be, but they put the science first.
right, yeah. So the science of so this is where the battle starts coming into play, innit? So if you're religious, you can't be your religion side.
But I wouldn't blame science. It's being an anthropologist because science can do a number of things very useful for us. But when you're an anthropologist, you got to take that very serious, and you can't contradict yourself in any way.
Right. Okay.
So, but that's it though. But then back to on the importance of African history. So, would you like to see? You think the school system should be teaching African history more?
No, 100%.
We should be having more workshops.
Oh, 100%. But not just like when I say like we should be doing more, just like how the education system is teaching any child who lives in this country Western history.
Yeah.
Which it should be. We live in this country. But we have a lot of children whose ethnicity is not from this country. Although they're born here, the kids.
Yeah.
Their ethnicity isn't from this country. So, there needs to be some history being taught about Black history and the effects of where it come from all around the world, because it affects everybody and it affects all these the younger generations. So yes, 1,000%, they should be teaching history, Black history, the same way they're teaching Henry VIII and Hitler and all of that.
Yeah,
they should be then teaching Black history, the importance of it, what significance we had in a time demographic. So like in the 40s and 50s when that guy made the light bulb and that, we should be knowing about that. Do you get me? Just like they want to tell you, oh, he made the first telephone, and you find out as a Black guy. We should be celebrating that. Do you know what I mean? And teaching that to everybody.
But what we definitely need is Black people teaching the history. This is also important as well.
Yeah.
Very important. I mean, not saying that other people can't teach, because sometimes people can contribute, but we need the strongest version. We need the purest version. We don't need the watered down version, basically.
No. Yeah. Okay. You need more and more people who have the knowledge to come out and stand up.
Well, you do because you need to speak on something from an African perspective. It's like, for example, you want to go to Australia, you have to speak to the Aboriginal Australians.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
It does mean you can just go there and then I'm going to write my own history. Because a good thing what Ranoka Rashidi done, he done something called, it was a program about looking at Aboriginal Australians through African eyes.
Okay.
And I thought that was interesting because it's giving our perspective. How do we see these other indigenous people around the world? Do we see it from the same perspective as a European, or can we see things ourselves? We know we're the first people. We're the original. We're not the Aboriginal. We are the original from Africa. Mm-hmm. So, and then also back to what you were saying about your documentary. Okay. Anything that we need to look for, like anything in particular on your documentary? I understand the housing are taking the pee and that, and you're talking about it's infested with mice and
unfortunately, it's not something I'm proud of, but it's not me; it's the building, innit? It's got infestation of rodents, and basically the best way that you can do to get rid of it is to just fumigate the building. But this will cost money, innit? And they'd rather take your money than spend theirs.
Right, it's okay.
Do you get me? So they'll take your money, no problem. Like the rent's going in, but ask them to spend theirs to fix something. It's an issue.
A lot of rodents.
Yeah, a lot of evidence.
Yeah,
of a lot of evidence of mice. And you can hear them in the walls as well at night. Do you know what I mean? So it's just not. It's not the best.
Bit of company at night for you.
A whole lot of company. I mean, a single guy now, so it's a whole lot of company. You get me? But you want to see how I wrap up in that bed, boy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just Mother Teresa style. Just, it's not good because they're coming in through crevices and little entry points, and that's how they're getting into the building.
Yeah.
But it's just something that in 2021 we living in England, and don't get me wrong, you live in a park or whatever, but it's something that can be hell of a lot kind of reduced as opposed to what they're doing now.
Yeah, because they get lazy. These people, like house full of mold for years, and
well, when you're putting up housing and you're putting up housing that's sheltered accommodation for a temporary time, it seems like they're doing the bare minimum, or even less than the bare minimum, which is the issue. And there's been this issue in London. There's been I think a tower block and that, and they had some problem with damp and all this and that. They had to take all the people out, and they had to go in and throw some funds on that issue. Do you get me? So yeah, it's been going. The council and the housing and that, for some reason, they just seem to, as I say, quick to take, but to put back in, it's the issue and problem.
Well, you know what, though, hopefully good luck with your documentary. I hope it all goes well for you. And, you know, how long will the documentary be?
Well, I mean, I'd say hopefully I'm going to try and keep it short and it will be a significant amount of time, but it's not going to be over long. I'm not, when I say a documentary, I call it a documentary really, because it's really me kind of expressing what's been going on for the last 6 and a piece years in this building. So I'm looking for it to be about maybe 20 minutes or so, half an hour.
Yeah,
that kind of time period. And then once I get that done, that should be out hopefully on my socials in the next couple of weeks. And on my TikTok, I'll be looking to put up some 1 or 2 minute comedy videos and jokes.
Yeah.
And we'll just go from there. And as the months roll on, you'll see me putting out more content and be more of a content creator and on the socials and that. Yeah.
Sports presenter. Building
up to that. So, you know, hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of action going on at the moment, a lot of events and that, but I just want to get my channel and division 100% right. So I'm concentrating on the documentary and the small projects on TikTok. And once we kind of build something through that, then I'll be looking to hopefully try and build a channel, my own channel, or be involved in a channel dealing with sports. Yeah,
good.
Dealing with martial arts.
Good. You know, we're coming to the end of the show now, and it's great having you on, new guests. So it's about getting new guests in.
No, thank you, man.
Interesting, you know. I mean, I'm looking forward to your documentary. Also, hopefully you get your presenting going. You know, your sports presenting. I look forward to that too. And great to speak on the importance of African history.
Well, no, thank you for having me here, James, man. I really appreciate it. We've known each other for years, and we have these conversations. But I think now it's a good platform to have where you're able to really, you're teaching people, bro.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you are actually educating a lot of people, even myself today, just now. So
of course, well,
you're giving the knowledge back out. So I'm happy to see that you're able to do that. And
got to be done. Got to be done, because we're discovering new things, and that's what it's about. Yeah, you know. 100%. And thank you for coming today. I'm your host, James DeBow, and thank you all. Thank you again, Kevron.
Nice one, man. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.